Wow. How's everybody tonight? Thanks for joining me. I'm Selena Roane, and you've reached close to death. I've got a kind of a
Selena in there.
special guest, and then another more special guest in another way. Lisa Martin, and let me tell you what all she has got on her little plate. She's an investigator, an author, a publisher, an attorney, and she's also a pen show host right before mine, actually, for PSL. And most importantly, she's my friend. It's hard to find friends as crazy as you are, but I think I've managed to do so. Lisa, are you here?
I'm here, and I have my pet ghost with me.
I see that. Oh, my God. That's a full-bodied apparition there.
Yes.
Are you calling me fat?
No, John. She did. John. Yeah, she didn't say
Full
wide
body.
body.
That's like a nice beard. It's got a full body flavor.
How are y'all doing? How are you doing tonight, Lisa? I know how crazy he is.
I'm doing pretty good, especially since I've already dealt with it for a couple of hours.
So y'all show was pretty cool just now with the guy from Ireland. That was really cool. I really thought he'd be sound asleep. Like I thought it was real early in the morning there, but I forget it's not that far around the other side of the world.
Close, but yeah.
So what's been happening with you besides doing your investigations and your tours, and now you've got a publishing company?
Yeah, French Point Publishing. We have our first book came out in March, which is Unrested Peace by Jason Stanton, who's an investigator in New York. It's a true haunting story. We've got several in the pipeline, some of them that Selena knows about, but in fact, we've got one coming out in a couple of weeks.
I hope he's not taking his clothes off, because I don't know if you'll be able to finish the show.
I was getting a personal dance there. And now he's blushing.
I'm going home with freaking weirdos. See you next weekend.
Oh, see how he is?
That's all right.
I don't think he's really going. I think he's faking it. Okay, now, what was that? I'm sorry, I totally lost my train of thought.
The books that some of them I know about, which I'm kind of happy about, because that I've been getting a lot of kudos and thanks from my family member there who has been struggling all her life, and I think this will help a lot of people actually. So I said, I know somebody who'll probably talk to you about that book, and she was like, just elated. So I hope everything works out. I think it'll be a good thing, but I appreciate that from you.
Oh, no problem. It's a fascinating story, and that's one thing, too, that I want to let everyone know that, we don't focus just on paranormal books. We've got things coming out in various subjects that just a wide range of things is going to be fun. So,
yeah.
And you can always check that out on Facebook, French Point Publishing, or contact me directly through my own page or through the Paranormal Science Lab page. And always something going on.
Definitely. I talked to my aunt actually yesterday at my cousin's wedding. I just got back from like South Texas. It was like by San Antonio, but my cousin's wedding was yesterday. And after 3 monsoons, which is supposedly an extremely good luck charm if it rains on your wedding day. I don't know if that meant indoor or outdoor, but this was an outdoor wedding. So we thought about going redneck and mud wrestling while we were there, but I did sit down and talk with my aunt, and we are going to go forward with writing the book I talked to you about that I want to write about my twisted family history, because Lord knows after I talked to her yesterday, there's probably going to be a little bit of mix of what we talked about and a lot of other stuff I had no idea about. It was interesting to find all that out. I was like, wow, I really do have a twisted family history.
I think a lot of us do, and some of us don't even know that.
Yeah, and some of the things I kind of just could have went my whole life not knowing about that I'm finding out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, woo, that was TMI. But
yeah.
So right now you are at the John Wise Mansion.
Yes.
And the reason that I'm so excited that you were there is because a group and I that I've gotten together are coming up there, and I think we're going to go ahead and come up Thursday, and the girls got an actual room there on Thursday night because they want to get a head start. They don't want to be tired for Friday's investigation. So tell us a little bit, because they're all watching. I'll send them a message. They should all be watching, and they want to kind of know. I said, take notes. So tell us a little bit about the John Wise Mansion.
The John Wise Mansion was built in 1899 by one of the early mining moguls in the area. It's a beautiful Victorian house. It was the home to the family for quite a few years, and then it was donated to the YWCA and actually was a woman's home for about 40-some years. And so women who came in that were working, that didn't have a place to stay, lived here. Unwed mothers were here. Later on, it was a bed and breakfast and a private residence again. And now it is in new hands, and they're doing events. They're doing weddings, things like that, and then we're doing a lot of paranormal events and things. But there's a lot of activity. There's definitely the presence of at least 2 men here and a young woman who dances in the parlor a lot. And there's particularly 2 men. There's one who seems to be identified as Peter, and he's in an argument with another man. We don't know who the other man is, but there are times you audibly hear an argument, doors slam, things like that, when it's not, there are no doors shutting. Shadow people are seen. Light balls have been seen. We've actually been filming the show and watched light balls float through. And actually today on the show, Eric may have noticed, we were both looking up at the ceiling because there were footsteps above us, but no one's in the house.
Well, this should be nice because I believe we're staying there, so that should be incredibly cool. And also, I remember watching a show when y'all were there. I believe it was there, and he saw a shadow person walk this way, and you were talking to the guest, and John was like, and you're like, what is it? And he goes, there was something walked right past there, and I was like, woo-wee. And so I knew then we had to get up there because I was excited about the Kendrick house alone. I mean,
oh yeah,
Penny and I were lucky enough to come up through there in October. Of course, it was freezing, pretty chilly outside, and it was kind of rainy if I remember correctly.
I think so.
Yeah, and we go, and she's like, well, first off, Lisa tells us you have to have tobacco. And I'm like, okay, neither one of us smokes. So, yeah, we don't have any cigarettes. And she goes, well, they got some, just get some cheap ones at the store because we have to pay homage, a voodoo protection homage to the house before we go in the house. And I looked at Penny like, woo, this is going to be serious. So Penny and I go, and we get, we don't know what to buy. And I'm like, told the lady, just the cheapest cigarettes you got. And she looked at me and she goes, are you sure? And I'm like, look, I'm not smoking them. And she looked at me real weird, like, what the hell are you doing with them, man? So I got them, and we, did what we did and took a hit off of it and left it on the little staircase there. Now tell us, the girls are real interested in knowing. I already told them that it's built on limestone, that it's by a railroad track and has a river. And I said, if that right there is not like the perfect storm for paranormal, but I said, wait, there's more. So why don't you tell us what more there is, Lisa?
Well, there's an awful lot, but one good thing is it's an antebellum home. It was built by slaves, And it was also in the path of the first large-scale land battle of the Civil War, the Battle of Carthage. About 6,000 men fought, starting about 8 miles north along what was then the military road, which is a street that runs by it that's literally 50 feet from the house. And fighting came through. The house was commandeered and used as headquarters and hospital by the Union Army, and then used by the Confederates in the days afterwards. It was used by both sides different times. Bushwhackers were there. There was lynchings there. It was just really dangerous. And the slaves, practiced voodoo, which was very common then. Apparently conjured a protective tulpa to protect them and the women and children during the war. And what happens is that once it's conjured, and you are to give it offerings, and if you don't give the tulpa offerings, it kind of gets distracted and goes and does its own thing and can get mischievous. And so over time, odd things have happened. Investigators have had very odd experiences, including time loss, and just had some real issues. And so we found that you have a much better time and luck, particularly male investigators. And I think that's because of why it was conjured. It's distrustful of men that making that offering. Things go through. Yes.
Because let me tell you something. And when Penny and I were there, and we made this clear to you when we were there, I've never seen Penny act or not move in an investigation. She's usually all over the place, checking stuff out, doing EVPs, talking to the spirits, trying to, get them to, talk to us. And Penny, that's the co-founder of Fear, she was sitting in a chair like this, holding her cross, and would not move. And I'm like, okay. And I'm an empath, and I'm picking up a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, and I'm like looking at her, and I go, Pen, what's up? And she's like, ooh, my spirit guide don't like this place. She's like, remember she said her spirit guide was like circling her, and like she was freaking out. And then I said, hey, well, aren't your spirit guides supposed to chill you out? And she goes, exactly. That's why she's, freaking, and she's making me freak even worse. So something in that house, and I know, tell us a little bit about what they have also seen as far as the claims in there and the upstairs, the shadow person, the things like that, so the girls can be kind of aware of that.
Okay. Shadow people are seen. They've been seen upstairs, downstairs, particularly in the foyer, the hallway downstairs, the landing upstairs. The addition on the back of the house, which wasn't original, has the original operating table from the Civil War battle there. It still has the blood evidence on it and everything. Yeah. And shadow people are seen around it. And in fact, where it sits is probably right about where it sat, because they carried the table out the back door and did the operations. And so it's sitting probably about where it was when it was used. And shadow people around there. There have been shadow people that we've caught that are almost childlike, like they're playing peekaboo. Others are a little more, I don't want to say ominous, but less playful. Their light balls have been seen, and we're not talking orbs, we're talking, three-dimensional balls of light that float around like earth lights, more like what, you'd see at Martha or the spook light at Joplin. Flying mists that can't be explained. Apparitions have been seen over the years of, Civil War soldiers, of 2 or 3 different little girls. A slave man has been seen in the slave house. All kinds of auditory experiences, not only EVPs, etc., but audible things are heard, including that there's a woman there who is always looking for Tom. She calls out the name Tom a lot, as if she's looking. I've had my name audibly called inside the house, outside the house. Other investigators that are there a lot have too. There's just a lot that goes on. EMF activity.
Oh yeah. Our K2s were going. They were playing musical K2s with us that night, periscopes, and and the heavy feeling that you get even after you pay your homage and do all that outside the house, and you leave the thing on the staircase. Both Penny and I, like I said, don't smoke, and so when we took a drag, we were like, whoa. And we knew when you told us that it was going to be serious stuff in there. We had no idea just how serious or heavy, intense that it was. Now, there's a place in the Kendrick house that you showed us that's like where you can almost go underneath the house, and it had complete limestone around there. And we put the periscope in there, and we were getting activity there too. It was like everywhere that we went in the house, upstairs, and that was a real heavy ass feeling. I think, and that was because the shadow man that doesn't like people, I don't know if that's the protector or whatever. I think you said it was kind of a protective, but he can get pretty aggressive if towards men.
Yeah, especially men, especially if they're provoking or get aggressive towards him. Mm-hmm.
Well, I would know a couple that don't need to go there if they want. I
can think of one or two that we know. Yeah.
So I wouldn't suggest that for them. Now, that's gonna. This is like a paranormal palooza that me and Lisa have put together for these ladies. They have no idea exactly how much fun they're going to have. See, so that's the one night at the Kendrick house, and then we have the Carthage Opera House. So let's talk a little bit about that and let the ladies in on what's going on with that place.
Okay, and basically the entire downtown area was destroyed in the Civil War. There were like 3 buildings left standing in town after the war. And so everything on the square, the burned out courthouse and everything was basically what was left demolished. And one of the first buildings rebuilt, or to be built on the square, was the Opera House building. And it was built in 1877, 1878. And it's a paranormal palooza as well, in that you have, from the very beginning, it's 3 levels with a basement. The first tenants in the basement was a mortuary, and seriously. And then on the first floor, and in fact, that mortuary is still in business from the early 1880s, and they're now in their 3rd location. But they were in that building even before they used embalming. They first started using embalming in that building. And Keith, the owner, he's gathered all kinds of items that are related to the history of the building. He actually has some items from the mortuary from that time period. And actually at that time, they weren't just undertakers. They sold furniture and were undertakers.
Wow, that is a strange combo right there.
And then the next floor was always different retail space. It originally was a hardware store and has been a department store, etc. The top floor was the Opera House. And there's been a murder in the building that was related to a 3-way tryst. The owner of the building in 1899, John McCrillis, discovered that his next door neighbor, best friend, and man who he set up into business was having an affair with his wife.
Ain't that always the way it happens, man? I swear.
Yeah. Nothing like betrayal, but betrayal on a level. And I guess that John had a pretty torturous night that night, because the next morning he goes next door, asks William Gilfillan to go downtown to breakfast. And they end up they eat breakfast, end up back in McCrillis' store in the Opera House building, and he pulls out a gun and kills her.
Oh, nice.
So that happened there. There's been multiple people die in the building, employees, etc. A woman died of a heart attack in the building. There's someone that fell down the back stairwell and died. Actually, there are repeated stories of a couple of young boys who were up in the Opera House when it was actually a furniture company at that point later on, and fell off the gallery walks and died. I mean, just all kinds of things have happened. It's actually the longest running paranormal story that I know of, really, in this area. When the building was being constructed and they dug the basement out, the papers were reporting the construction workers were complaining that they kept hearing cannon fire. And that's still heard today. I know 4 people who personally experienced that, including the current owner. Being down in the basement, he was working one day painting a wall, and here's what sounds like an explosion.
Oh boy.
Lisa, did I lose you?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Skype is calling her back.
Okay, sorry people. Something happened with the connection. We'll be getting her back in just a second.
Here she is.
I think I'm here now.
Okay. It's like you froze and then I froze and I'm like, ruh-roh. So I'm messing with your video there.
Maybe someone's wanting us to talk about John Weiss again.
Yeah. That's enough about that place. So you were saying the basement, when the construction workers were in the boom and all that, the cannon booms, that's where you were. So
Right. And that's still heard. In fact, the current owners had that experience as well. And musket fire is heard. Woman crying is heard. Little girl is heard in the building. She's been seen before. And actually, the same apparition is reported in a lot of buildings around the downtown area. And they're all in places that are connected to underground caves and caverns. That are natural, and it used to be, kids, they would sneak in down there and try to explore, etc. There's actually 2 different stories. One is while they were building the Opera House and they had the basement dug, it was still filling with water, hadn't been pumped out yet. There was a runaway carriage, and a woman and child, a little girl, were thrown into the hole when the carriage ran away, and they were swept away and never found. Then there's also a story of a group of kids about 80 years ago that went exploring, got lost, and died in the tunnels, and they went in and had to find them. It took them about 2 weeks to find them.
Wow.
And so our guess is that she's related to one of those 2 stories, but we're not positive which. And but I tend to think it's the carriage accident because she's often calling for mommy. She's asking for mommy. And so there's an apparition of an old woman in the building, apparition of a nicely dressed Victorian couple have been seen. Audible voices of different people have been heard, including what sounds like a deep Southern black accented man. He's usually in the basement, and he usually sounds protective. He'll say things like, "What are you doing here?" and things like that, like he's watching over things. So I mean, there's lots of stuff that goes on. We've even captured operatic singing in the Opera House in evenings.
So obviously, ladies, we need to stock up on audio recorders and put them freaking everywhere, is more what I'm trying to say. Now, there's another place that the girls won't get to actually experience, which is unfortunate for them. Luckily, Penny and I did, along with you, and that was the Olivia Apartments. And they're talking about the Olivia Apartments here in the chat room. Yeah, and what's the status on that? It's never going to come back? The bank still got hold of it?
The bank still has it right now. It's up for sale. Believe me, and it actually, it literally is 2 blocks, a block down, a block over from where I'm sitting right now. Okay. And I go by it every time I come over here, and I tip my, my fingers to her because, I went back in there so bad. I miss
it. It's so beautiful. I mean, the tile work alone, right in the door itself, the doors themselves, and then the tile work alone that says Olivia, and it's that old time period, exact, perfect, freaking white little bitty tiles with black like letters, and it's beautiful. And then you walk in, and it's just like it's the most gorgeous Italian hotel I've ever seen. I'm like, God. And then in the basement, I was in part of my presentation when I speak about being an empath or whatever, I kind of told them how I was feeling in there. I was like sad and kind of confused, and then I was like, I got really hot, and I was like, and it was cold in there. I was like, man, I've got a rush of heat over me. And I was explaining to them that the young boy that was killed down there, I said, this was before gas smelled. You couldn't smell the gas. He was trying to relight the furnace, and he got blown through the wall and into a cement pillar, and his skin melted off of him literally. Now he did last a couple of minutes after that. Didn't they bring him upstairs to try to help him out?
Yeah, they actually, one of the tenants was a doctor, one of the first 4 tenants, and he ran downstairs, and he said even though that pillar was only about 15 feet from the bottom of the stairs, it took him about 10 minutes to find Marvin. And then he carried him up to the lobby, and he lasted about 20 more minutes. So he probably lived about half an hour before he died.
And it's painful, too. God almighty. Yeah, I mean, his skin was melting off of him.
Well, now, his muscles were falling out, and he is sensed by a lot of people. And I honestly don't think Marvin knows he's dead.
Well, it happened so fast. I mean, it was like instantaneous, What were his last words? Wasn't it, please tell my mom and dad it wasn't my fault, something to that in those lines?
Well, he said, please tell Mr. Bindalari, who's the owner of the building, that it wasn't my fault, and don't tell my folks. And
don't tell my folks. Okay.
And I think he didn't want them to know how bad he was hurt, in that state, not realizing that obviously they would know. But and one of the things is, I over the years, I grew fond of Marvin. You get
attached.
You get attached. There's almost a motherly feeling. You feel for him, and he's been seen in some of the houses around the apartments too.
Oh, cool.
And usually about the time of the explosion, which was a few minutes before 5 a.m. One lady that lives close, who's a friend of mine actually, she has seen him. She will get woken up just suddenly, and it'll be a few minutes before 5, and she'll look around her bedroom, and she sees a young man like this, and the flesh is burned off of his arms and so forth. And
that's
like him in that moment.
Yeah, and I didn't understand. That I was an empath when we were there. I had no idea why I was feeling those things. And Penny was like, everyone is psychic. Everyone has those abilities. You just have to open yourself up to feel them and not question what you're feeling. Because, when I was there, I kind of was like trying to open up and kind of feel stuff, and it was working. And then when we left, I go, now I kind of understand why I was feeling the heat when I found out I was an empath. I go, that makes sense now, because he got blown, not that he had heat, but just the melting of his skin, it had to burn. And so, not only was that a huge incident there, but the cool thing about the Olivia Apartments was Al Capone's aunt lived there. And that, to me, anything mobster, anything Dillinger, Al Capone, The Sopranos is my favorite all-time show. I still have every season on DVD. I will watch every rerun that comes on. I cried when James Gandolfini died. Yeah. So anything that is mobster, I'm all about it. So I was tickled shitless to be in Al Capone's aunt's apartment. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm really standing here. So that was just in itself the coolest thing. So I appreciate that, because now you can't get back in there. So sorry, girls.
Yeah, I mean, we keep crossing our fingers. We hope something happens with it, that maybe in the future, maybe we can do something, because it's just a great. However, you'll love this, because at the Opera House, it ended up, some of the things in the building that the owner of the Opera House did get, and he has the secret bell, Al Capone's secret bell, from the apartment, and the front desk would tip the apartment off if someone was coming up. And he also has the organ.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, my God. That works for them. Yes. Because that's one thing. His aunt lived on it's like the top floor, the penthouse type thing. His aunt had it pretty much set up. And whenever Al or his guys or anybody would show up, they would ring up. And let her know they were coming or whatever. And it was also for police, I do believe, as well.
I'm sure.
Letting somebody know that the mob was coming. It's more the cops, I do believe.
Well, and the funny thing, though, is his aunt was known to be a very religious lady, and she would not let them come in with guns, and she very much disapproved of gambling. And that was well known, and we actually caught EVPs related to that, and actually one was right outside the apartment door of a woman saying, "Not through there with your gun." And we think one of the male investigators, was carrying an audio recorder in his hand, and we wonder if that's what prompted that. She said, "Not through there with your gun."
Well, while we were there, and I do believe it was that building that we were there, that we saw the mysterious footprint coming from the wall. Okay, there's no doorway, there's no way, but there was a set of footprints. One was more prominent than the other, and they came from the wall, folks, okay?
And
there's nothing way that someone can leading from.
10 feet away from any door.
Totally weird. No window. He could have come through and put his feet down. And we were sitting there going,
the wall, in fact.
Yes. And I'm like, okay, totally weird. And
those have actually been found in several different apartments.
Just coming from the wall. That's what I'm saying. It's so strange.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it was like, we were sitting there trying to debunk how that could have happened. There's no flipping way, unless the entity just had to come through the wall and stand there and maybe look and then take back off. But there was no footprints leading towards it at all. So we couldn't, there's no debunking that. There was no debunking that whatsoever.
Well, and the floors were dusty because it's been empty, and those footprints would stay for 2 or 3 years. Even though dust would accumulate, when you saw them, that particular set had been there for at least 2 years.
Wow, that's crazy. That is so crazy, because Penny and I were blown away with that. We couldn't, and we put a periscope by it to like, come on back out of the wall. We were like trying anything to figure out how in the hell those footprints got there. Yeah. I mean, it was just crazy. So I've also set up, the girls know about it, but I set up a little day trip over to the Galena Murder Bordello.
Okay.
And, so we're going to go have lunch at the little Mexican restaurant there in Galena. I'm going to kind of introduce everybody to all the kind people in Galena, because I really enjoy them. We're going to eat there, and then we're going to go over there and do kind of a mini tour investigation. I'm going to give them a couple hours in there to run some EVPs and see if we can't catch old Nancy Staffel back talking smack, or one of her sons or something saying something. But I wanted to tell you, the day that we went down, after we left and went over to the Galena Murder Bordello, the next morning or whatever, on our way to the Axe Murder House. I think we did that on the way back, I'm not sure. But anyway, when we went in, Penny picked up on a prostitute named Rose. And Rose told her that she loved the bathroom and loved the color pink, and it was beautiful. So they're digging the remodeling.
Rose was one of the girls. Rose, there was a Rose there or something.
And see, Penny didn't know that.
Oh, okay. And
and he didn't know that. So,
and she was
like, Rose likes it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they liked it, and I think it's got the activity up a little bit. Russ was over there during the day and was just checking on something, and I think he turned on the air for a tour that was coming or something. I can't remember. But he was in there and he was doing an EVP session because he kept hearing footsteps. And he's standing, and Russ is so funny, but he's standing in the room and the door starts shutting and he's like, GD, holy shit, that door just shut. And he didn't know, he was going, oh damn, and I wasn't recording, the whole thing recorded it. But the door closed by itself. But you should have heard him, he was like, shit, I didn't have the recorder running, and he did, so...
Well, that's kind of interesting because there was an event over there on New Year's Eve, and I went and they took a group at a time that were at the event down there, and it was funny. The group I was in, he was telling about that, and so. And the funny thing is, because he did, I don't know why, he grabs my arm and, wants me to walk in there with him. And he's telling people and showing them what was happening with the door and everything. And while we're standing there, I have a hand go to the small of my back. And I'm like, what the hell's he doing? And I look down and he's not touching me.
Like, Russ, I know we're friends, but get your hand off the small of my back.
Right.
You like that.
Yeah, and then look down and it wasn't him.
That's great. I think they're going to love it. And the place is so incredibly beautiful. I mean, and I do think the spirits, if you do it the right way, if you make it gorgeous, if you make it back in their time period as best you can, and put it back to the way it's better than it probably ever was. I'm sure
it was.
I'm sure, because, please.
I mean, it was a rough and rowdy mining town.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a mansion now,
Yeah.
But I think the spirits are happy there, and I think they will come out and say hi. I mean, they're kind of familiar with me, of course. I was there a week talking to them, and I wasn't yelling at them. They kind of tried to make me sleepy there a little bit. And that's the weird thing, that dining room area table. Mm-hmm. I was doing an investigation by myself there, and it was during the day, and it was kind of hard to get any EVPs because the cars, right there at the corner, and the motorcycles and the Harleys, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, EVPs are out of the question. So I was trying to do trigger objects, and I was trying to sit there and act like I was playing poker with them.
Right.
And I had and I was playing poker or whatever, and I heard footsteps, and I go, hey, I hear you. Come on down and talk to me. And then my camera shut off, and I go, oh, I see you're going to start jacking with my camera. Well, that's not cool, so I'm turning my camera back on. So I turned my camera back on, and the minute I did that, and this is 11:30 in the middle of the day, I was perfectly awake. All of a sudden, I go, oh. Like I got really sleepy, and I'm like, what in the hell? I had to get up and walk out, and the minute I walked outside, I was fine. And
was it where you feel like heavy blankets thrown over you?
Yeah, like like I'd been drugged. Like something was in my Coke. I'm like, what did the cars on the route put in my freaking Coke? But it was like, I'm serious. Am I getting roofied? Are they playing a joke on me and want to get it on film? I'm not sure, because the thing's known for joking around and pranking around. So I was like, this wouldn't be funny. But it happened 2 times, and then after I went back the second time, I got a really, really bad headache. Oh. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I didn't know why. I just thought because I hadn't eaten real good or whatever. But no, I ate great at that awesome La Quinta. So it was my empath stuff picking up, and I had no idea why. So, like I said, in January when I found out, it was like, oh, okay, that all makes sense now. So I'm not just nuts. I'm picking up on that. So it felt like, the headache can make sense because they hit the miners over the head and knocked them out and killed them. Uh-oh. Did you hear something?
There was some movement over here.
Oh, okay. Good deal. So, are there any new locations in your area that we can be possibly looking forward to?
Yes, actually, there are. We are starting tours and events at a historic building that's now a library in Hood City, Missouri, and it's been the site of the little girl in gray for decades, since at least the 1940s, and that's very interesting. We are in the process of setting up something really cool. We have a couple of places that we're working with in Fort Scott, Kansas, which was a frontier fort from the 1830s, and then it was shut down, and then they reactivated it during the Civil War, and then the town grew up around it. And we are putting together some events, including some weekend events for people to go stay in a historic hotel that's over 100 years old, that's built on some of the original fort grounds, and then to investigate a very interesting haunted location and do some tours of the fort and so forth.
Well, that leads me into the next little thing I was going to announce, and this is just a kind of a trial run. I've got kind of 2 announcements tonight, but Lisa and I have kind of been talking back and forth, and I think we're going to try to set up a little bit of test it out, see how it goes, and we're going to set up a little haunted vacation type thing. What I called my weekend that I set up this time with the girls is called the kind of paranormal palooza weekend. It's like nonstop, everything you do, eat, sleep, and be is paranormal. And we do it at really reasonable cost. I mean, and Lisa and I are going to talk about this coming up weekend when I see her. But we're going to try to see how it goes, because I've already got people that are saying, I want to go up there to Missouri. And so the interest is there, so we can fulfill their needs. And with more places to choose from, more things like that, you guys aren't going to know what hits you when it comes to this, because this is going to be so cool. And Lisa is amazing with history. I mean, when I first met her, filming Shadows on 66, I was just blown away. I was like, man, she knows like so much knowledge about the history. It's crazy. I can't remember one from the other. I'm so ADD, like me and Chip, we had so much fun with each other, because it was like having a conversation, like squirrel, So you were just amazing as far as the history and the knowledge of everything. And Penny loved it, because she was picking up things and you were validating them right away. She didn't have to wait for validation. She didn't have to wait for any of that stuff, because you were like on it. I was like, dang, man, I would have to have notes about each location so I didn't forget. But you're like, da-da-da. And so, guys, we're in such good hands with Lisa when we go to Missouri. And I know there's a lot of Civil War history there. There's a lot more than just Civil War. There's yellow fever. There's all kinds of stuff that went on there. Tuberculosis. So when me and Lisa work together, it's going to be bad to the bone.
And that's something else at the Kendrick House. It was used as a sick house.
Yes.
And so if there were epidemics or just someone was really ill, they were taken there to be nursed, and either they got better or they didn't. And they literally have no idea how many people died there. And so all kinds of things.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the girls, I know Helen right now she's probably already getting her batteries, chargers, everything going. They are all so excited they can't stand it. Helen's never been to Missouri. And I'm like, girl, Missouri is like a plethora of paranormal. You cannot go anywhere. You can be outside and get an EVP. It's so good. So we can't wait. And I cannot wait to work with you and get some more stuff set up, because I've already got a group wanting me to set something up with you. So I told them I'm seeing her this week. So if y'all are watching, here it is. I'm getting a date from her this week. And so we'll set that up and get that going. And I want to talk to you about your show on PSL, your PSL show here on Penn. Tell us a little bit about your show, and so that way they can tune in an hour earlier and watch your show.
Well, Paranormal Science Lab Live, and we talk to a variety of people that are in the paranormal world or related. Everything from investigators to authors, researchers on various things that you don't hear about all the time. I mean, this evening we were talking to Fenton Cohen from Ireland, who's doing a TV show over there, and sounds like we may have some exciting things coming up for him, etc. out of that. And so we're always looking for people that you don't see all the time on shows and everything, and that have a little different view on things. So it's always interesting, and with my cohort, John, you never know what's going to happen. So
that is obviously for shizzle, because let me just tell you, they're talking about how John is pretty amazing, and now, not to mention he's sexy. Now, come on now. So,
and I tell you, there's nothing like a sexy man in a tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that right there will maybe turn me straight. So, do you have any upcoming events or upcoming things that you'd like to let people know about?
Well, just, watch out on the Paranormal Science Lab page, because we are getting ready to start posting a lot of dates for local tours, to book private events, etc., announcing some new locations. And there's another idea I have I'm going to talk to you about for trips that I think will be interesting, and something that no one's doing that we can do here. And so we'll see if we can work that out. So just, keep an eye out. We've got things coming. French Point Publishing is going to have new books coming out, and somewhere in between, I'm supposed to be writing a couple this year. So.
Yeah, somewhere in all this stuff, I'm supposed to be starting to write my book as well. And like I said, with my aunt, she gave me some pointers to get started, So, I mean, she told me like at least three big, huge, like I could do it in little mini books in one book or whatever, It's going to be crazy. I've got to go all the way to Tennessee to get to some of my family history, so it's going to be a little bit lengthy, but we'll get it done. I want to get it done definitely with her, because she is like the patriarch of our family, and she is like the go-to woman for anything Yates. Anything that has to do with my Yates family, man, she is on it. I'm like, she's like you, okay? Oh, and then so-and-so was married to so-and-so, and I'm like yesterday going, you were telling me this, and I'm drinking yucca. I'm not going to remember any of this.
The audio recorder.
I didn't have my stuff with me. We were at a wedding, so I was like, I felt naked without my stuff,
I hear you. I hear you.
So tell everybody where they can find you, and a little bit about where they can get a hold of French Publishing if they have a book idea that they want to get going.
Okay. You can find me on Facebook under Lisa L. Martin, or find me on the Paranormal Science Lab page. I have an author page too, Lisa Livingston Martin, author. French Point Publishing has its page on Facebook. You can contact us through there about ideas or submission guidelines. We're always happy to hear from anyone, whether it's on the publishing side or on the paranormal side. Anyone that's interested in this area, locations, etc., give us a yell. And
also, John's got Walk the Mist now, too.
Yeah, he does. John has Walk the Mist on Facebook and on Etsy.com, and he makes jewelry with a spiritual bent, and they're beautiful. He took out, so he's always embarrassed, but I'm wearing one right now, a fluorite, and he does beautiful work, and I highly recommend checking it out if you're interested in stones.
See, John, you're getting props in the freaking chat room, and we're giving you a shout out for Walk the Mist. I mean, come on, dude. I think you got it going on, man.
Yes,
Lisa, I really appreciate you being on my show, and I am so flipping excited to get there. And I think we are. The girls are trying to talk me into coming Thursday, so I'll probably come in Thursday so that I'm not dog tired for the deal on Friday night. Because I'm looking forward to talking to you. But you people out there in the audience, you need to watch out, because these two women right here are fixing to blow y'all's minds with some cool paranormal locations to investigate. So just hold your pants, because we're going to come at you real hard with it.
Going to blow you away.
That's exactly right. Going to make you a believer. You have a great evening, girl.
You too. Take care.
Yeah, I'll see you soon. Thanks.
Next week. This week.
All right, everybody. That was Lisa, and we are extremely, extremely excited to get to go up there and hang with her. We have just a couple of announcements, one being a huge announcement. I've already made one about Lisa and I working together for the Paranormal Palooza little vacations for all your haunted needs. We are going to work with, actually, I have been working with Chris Melanson from Paranormal Society of New Orleans and the Nala Ghost Tours. And we are bringing Dakota Lawrence to New Orleans for the first time to do 2 galleries, August the 30th. We have galleries 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. and it'll be held at the Gemini. The Gemini was a bar that was back in the 70s burnt. It was a gay bar, real on the hush hush. Someone got pissed off. They got kicked out, came back and burned the place. And there was only one way in and one way out, and so 32 men, I believe, lost their lives there. There's also been connections to yellow fever and other things like that. Weird thing about it is you don't really get a whole lot of the homosexual men that died in the fire. You get more of the yellow fever type children that are coming through. So we're going to be holding those. Eventbrite is on my wall. It's on Dakota's wall. It will be on Fear's wall. It will be on a lot of walls coming soon. We have 25 spots available for each gallery at $50 a piece. You can't beat that. It's right there in the French Quarter, and afterwards you can stay for the New Orleans Ghost Tours, which in June, on the 27th, I will be their special guest as the Deep South Paranormal guys and Chris Melanson have put together this amazing event at the Andrew Jackson Hotel. And it starts at 8 p.m. They have actually 2 tickets that have become available. So $250 can take you and a friend to stay in this hotel that's haunted, do the investigation with Randy Hardy, Kevin Betzer, and none other than Hart Fortenberry, the Gree stick guy, and I. And we are going to investigate the place. Now, just to let you know what a deal this is, the hotel itself costs $330-something on a Friday night, and all you're getting 2 people to stay there. $250 includes the investigation, night at the hotel, and breakfast the next day. Cannot beat it. Get your tickets. I'll have links on my wall. So that are the 2 things that I needed to tell you about. Lisa and I working together, getting some haunted vacations coming to you, and Dakota Lawrence coming to you. So stay tuned, but get your tickets to Dakota. Look us up on Facebook at Fear Paranormal Society. And also we have a website, fearparanormal@wix.com/fear-1. And we have everything going on our page there too. So next week, let's see who I have next week. I don't have a show next week because guess what? I'll be in Missouri with Lisa. But the week after that, on June 8th, the king and queen of the Vampire Court of Austin will be my guest. Yes, Logan South and Daly Catherine, they are the king and queen of the Vampire Court of Austin, Texas. And I am excited to talk to these guys because there are a lot of misconceptions about their lifestyle and what a vampire actually is. So we're going to clear all that up and put everybody's mind at ease. So y'all join me. Y'all have a great Memorial Day weekend, what's left of it. Salute to all the troops that have served our country. Really appreciate it. Special shout out to my team member, Al Franklin, who saved my life and fought for our country more than his share of times. Again, have a great Memorial Day weekend. Join us June 8th. Until then, peace out.